Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of On Point for today, Friday, the 10th day of January 2025. Of course, it is a brand spanking new year and it feels like I have not been here for some time, and that is true. I believe the last time I was here was sometime back in the middle of December 2024. But let me start off by saying good afternoon once again to all who are listening to On Point today. My name is Alexis Jeffers, and of course I'm here every Friday afternoon from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. once I'm able to be here, that is. And indeed, it is so good to have so many of you listening this afternoon, whether you're here on Nevis, whether in St. James Parish, St. George, St. John's, St. Paul, St. Thomas Parish, the whole of Nevis, and even down in St. Kitts as well. We do have a major following down there. Von Radio is heard at all points on St. Kitts, whether it's on the AM band or on the FM band. And indeed, we do have quite a number of followers down in the St. Martin area, French and Dutch St. Martin, Sabre, Statia. That's where a lot of our not residents, but citizens are. And indeed, we know that they're tuned in to Von Radio because they want to hear what's happening on the island of Nevis. And this medium is one through which they get a lot of information, and most of the information they're trying to seek out. Indeed, we do have citizens down there in the U.S. and British Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, the United States, all across the United States, that is from East Coast to West Coast, and of course Canada. We do have quite a number of citizens who are there, and some who are there visiting, of course. But I want to say good afternoon and whatever time it is, because there are different time zones in North America, so it could be morning in some places. Indeed, I also want to say hello and good afternoon to all of our listeners there in Europe, the United Kingdom, France, Germany, wherever you are in Europe, Denmark, and the Netherlands. You know, we do have persons who are from the Federation who are there, and of course in throughout Asia, specifically the Republic of China, Taiwan, where we have our students and citizens working there as well too. So all who are listening through this medium of radio, internet, because we are being broadcast through the YouTube platform and also Facebook as well. So whatever means by which you're hearing us this afternoon or this morning or whatever time of day it is, I say welcome. And I started by talking about the new year, so let me wish everyone a happy, healthy, prosperous new year. It is 10 days old, yes, 2025 that is, but it almost seemed like we've been going through this year at a rather quick pace, and so it is when you have so many things to do in so little time. But of course we have 12 months ahead of us to get a lot of things done, whether it's in our individual lives, in our professional lives, or as a government, for example, the Concerned Citizens Movement in government. There are things planned for this year that needs to be executed and will be executed with the help of God. So there are a lot of things to be accomplished this year. Now, as I am talking about the new year, I want to just backtrack a little bit and go back to the old year, because in 2024 we would have seen some progress, we would have seen some challenges, we would have seen some difficulties, and we would have lost some family and friends and loved ones along the way. And so it is for us now to understand that we're here for some time. Some will say we're here for a time, some will say we're here to have a good time, and some will say we're here to make use of the time that we have as well too. And so we would have lost some friends and family members, of course, and we want to say to all those who are still in the bereaved column at this point in time, because losing a loved one or family member or friend is not an easy thing to overcome, and so the grieving process may be for some time, and so I want to express my sympathies. While I'm at that, let me also just mention a couple of persons who we would have lost in recent times. Of course, I have not been here since we would have had the passing of Mr. Reginald Kawaja, someone who I knew for many years. At least it goes back to, I believe, somewhere around 1990 or 1991 when I first met him. And at that time I used to be there at TDC. I worked at TDC at that point in time, the TDC Rentals. I don't think I was the manager at that point yet. I just would have started working there and later became the manager of that particular department. But anyway, I would have met Reginald Kawaja then. And of course, he was, a jovial guy, someone who tend to prick your mind in terms of his conversation. I want to say he was one who was somewhat inquisitive as well too, if I were to use that word. But he meant well. He was a businessman, a lawyer, he was a family man, a community man, and he wanted to see the best for the island of Nevis and of course the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. Chose Nevis as his place of residence, yes, and I do believe many of us would know when we passed through that area over there at Paradise Estate, where his property, his home is. And indeed, he played his part in the overall development of the island of Nevis. And Nevis can say it is so much better as a result of his input and his efforts, which extend also to the Bank of Nevis. He was general manager or manager there at one point, and also board of director. Well, he played an integral part in the overall management and progress of that particular bank, the Bank of Nevis, that is. And we already know, based on our knowledge of the exploits of that bank, what has become of Bank of Nevis over the years, and the role it continues to play in the overall development of the island of Nevis and the Federation of St. Kitts on a whole. That being said, we certainly went out and paid our respects, final respects on the 30th, I believe it was, of December. And indeed, that service was one that was, well attended, and it really is a testimony of the reach and the impact that Reginald Kawaja would have had on this community, on the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. So may his soul continue to rest in peace. Of course, over the period of time as well, we would have lost Amarel Kitchener Weeks. She was laid to rest. I believe it was the, well, I can't recall the date, but of course she would have departed this life. And she was someone who was a good advisor, if I were to put it that way, because when she stood up and spoke to you, she would tell you in no uncertain terms how she thinks things should be done or what one should do, especially in the area of politics. She was one of those stalwarts of the Concerned Citizens Movement. She supported the party, and there was no question as to where her allegiance lie. And of course, I remember when I got into politics, active politics that is, back in 2006, every meeting, I don't care where it was. It was in Gingerland, in Brick Hill, in Hanley's Road, wherever that meeting was held. Amarel was there, Kitchener was there. She had no transportation of her own, but she got there. And that is testimony to the commitment of persons to a political party, not so much because of the raw politics, but what the party meant to them in terms of what the party stands for, and the overall impact of this political party, the Concerned Citizens Movement, to the island of Nevis. So that was her commitment in terms of ensuring that the party did what was right and did what was good and favorable to the island of Nevis. So Kitchener is no longer with us, so I would say may her soul rest in peace as well. I can say so many things about Kitchener, but I'll leave it there for now. We also would have lost a very good friend of mine, Mr. Burley Walwyn. He was an electrician, of course. He was a stalwart of the party as well, an executive member. But he would have worked for a couple of institutions while he was alive and well. He would have worked for Four Seasons Resort, of course, for some time at the engineering department. He would have worked for NASPA up to the point of his passing. And of course, he would have done his private business in terms of working for individuals throughout the island of Nevis. And Burley was someone who was definitely a helper. He was one who went above and beyond to ensure that he got things done for people. He was a lover of people. He was a guy who you can get along with. One thing I'll say though is that he sometimes may not get the work done, but he did enough of the work for you to get by. What I mean by that, he might just give you a little now, tell you work with that until I come back. It will be some time before he come back, but he will come back, or he did come back, I will say. But Burley was one who I would have had many conversations with. We were in the Anglican Young People's Association together, went to our first conference in Montserrat back in 1987, and we went to a couple of conferences thereafter. He was not like me, because I used to tell him, boy, you're going to so many conferences and you never came back with any girls, as a joke. But he would laugh it off and never had much to say regarding that. I know he always tell me, listen, I am good in everything that he said. He would say, I'm good. One of the things that I always impart to him as well is that, Burley, take care of yourself in everything you do. I remember he had some illness at one point in time, and I used to go up to the hospital and visit him pretty much every evening and spend a few hours there with him. And we used to chat from one thing to the next, talk the politics, talk about life, talk about this, talk about that. And he was a good person to sit and have a conversation with. But you always felt like you'll be challenged by Burley no matter whatever you say. And that is what lends itself to some good conversation, because of the challenge and pricking your mind, as they would say, from time to time. And it was certainly fun to be around Burley, even though he was one that he would give you, a few, I was going to say something, but I'll leave it as that. But that is for, on the street, but not for the radio, really. But that is how much I enjoy being around Burley. And when I got the news of his tragic passing, it was, I just came from church the morning when I got the call, and I said this couldn't be true. But lo and behold, it was true. And it was certainly not, a good feeling, but it's what it is. So I'll leave that for now and let's move on, because every time I think about Burley and his untimely passing, it is one that really makes me feel sad indeed. But yes, we'll leave it as that for now. Okay, and I'll go on to Esmeralda Dick from right here in Bath. Esmeralda Dick, she would have passed away, I believe, last week, or today's what, Friday, or earlier this week, but a few days ago. Let me go back to Burley and say, for those who may not have known, I'm just saying that the funeral for Burley would be next Friday afternoon at the St. George's Anglican Church at 2 p.m. and I believe viewing starts at 1:30 p.m. So next Friday, the 17th of January, is the funeral service for Burley Walwyn. And Esmeralda, while I'm at that, I believe her funeral service will be held down there at the Emmaus Chapel on the 24th. That is a week later. So that presents a challenge, because I have my intentions to go to both of these funerals. So that presents a challenge for this program, but we'll deal with that accordingly. So Esmeralda Dick was also a stalwart of the CCM party. She was one who wore her colors with pride. And listen, when I say these things, I know what the politics is like on Nevis, but everyone have a choice of a political party. Everyone have a choice of church. Everyone have a choice of what you eat. Everybody have a choice as to who you associate with. And so if this is, or this party of Concerned Citizens Movement, that is, was her choice or anyone's choice, that is their choice. If you choose to support the other party, then you have your reasons for doing so. But Esmeralda was a supporter of the Concerned Citizens Movement. I want to express my sympathies to the entire family. Speaking of the husband, that is Mr. Dick, I forget his name, but anyway, Jasmine, daughter, and all of the children, and grandchildren and all of those family members who are grieving at this time, and everyone who is connected with all of these persons who have passed. I want to express my profound sympathies as well to you, and indeed we'll all go out and support the family of Mrs. Dick on the 24th. So we'll do it Burley as well to support his wife and children and the entire family, Louise and everybody. So we'll go out and support. And then of course earlier this week, I believe it was Wednesday, we learned of the passing of Mr. Nelson Stapleton as well. Nelson Stapleton, of course, we know he was a police officer for many years, and he was also a devoted Anglican member as well, and indeed he would have made his contribution towards the development of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, because once you're a member of the Royal St. Kitts and Nevis Police Force or St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force, then of course you serve both islands, one country, and indeed he would have made his contribution through that means or through that medium. And indeed he would have passed away on Wednesday, yes, and he would have left, of course, his wife Maureen Stapleton, and of course one son that I know of. I believe there is one son, yes, Al Stapleton, who is who works there at Nevlec. I want to express my sympathies to both of you and the extended family as well. And it's always difficult to talk about persons departing this life, because you know there is some finality when it comes to losing a loved one, a friend, a colleague, or community member. It is a final stage, and so that makes it even more difficult. So we have lost so many persons over the last year, and even for this year as well, and I suppose it boils down to life. Yeah, boils down to life. You're born, you live, and you die, and those are the processes that you have to go through when it comes to this life. Yeah, so I want to leave it there for now, and of course we're running quickly on time here, so let me move on quickly. An hour goes by quickly. We have a lot of things to cover this afternoon. Yes, those persons who are there at the Alexandra Hospital, I want to say good afternoon to you. I know of my good friend John Atherton, who is there, my cousin Stedroy, who is there, and all other persons who are there. I want to wish you a speedy recovery, and you have all of our prayers and thoughts are with you at this point, so that you can recover and get back on your feet, as we say locally, and continue to make the contribution that you have been making over the years towards the development of the island and Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis as well. So I wish you two gentlemen well, and anyone else who are listening there at the hospital who are infirm at this time and going through some difficult challenges. I wish you all the best, and pray that the Lord would provide the type of comfort and recovery that you need to get back on your feet. Yeah? Okay. When I was coming here, I was looking at the weather, and I said, wow, this is good weather. Yes, it's not hot, it's cool outside. But while we are saying it is cool here, it is cold up in North America, because I've been following the weather situation there, and many persons have been calling and saying how cold it is there. Well, it may not be good weather to go swimming right now here in Nevis. Perhaps it is for some, but it is weather that we can certainly manage here as well, not compared, but as against what you're going through there in North America and other parts that are experiencing cold weather at this time. The thing is, it's just amazing, because while there is snow, cold weather in the heartland of America and on the East Coast and even down in central Florida, on the West Coast, there were some tragic situations there with fire over the last couple of days, where hundreds of homes were lost, billions of dollars of losses were incurred, over $50 billion worth of losses through a serious fire that took place in the Palisade area, Pacific Palisade, I believe. But that's on the West Coast. So it's just amazing as to how things work, and how when we are in tranquil weather, someone is having a drought, someone is having rain or flood conditions, someone is having snow, some other places experiencing something else. So that is what we are seeing throughout the world these days. So that fire, a disaster of some magnitude, would have created difficulties there as well. Persons would have lost their lives. And indeed, we certainly sympathize and empathize with persons who are going through difficult situations at this particular point in time. But whether you're having snow, whether you're having rain, or in this case we're having good weather here on the island of Nevis, or in the case of the West Coast there in California, where they're having serious tragic situations to deal with, fire that is, we pray that God would provide comfort and deliverance in every possible way. Okay, quickly, one last bit of information that I want to just touch on. We know we are in the height of the tourist season. It seems to be a good one at this point in time. I see lots of persons moving back and forth, meaning car rentals are out there on the road. You see the safaris are taking persons around. Taxi operators cannot complain at this point in time. If they complain to me, it would go through one ear and come out the next, and I'm dead serious, because I see the movements and I see they're hustling here and hustling there during the day and at nights for dinner. I'm not counting anybody's money, but if you're doing well, I am happy for you. So it suggests to me that there are persons on the island enjoying the amenities that we have here on the island of Nevis. What I want to say at this point in time is that those of us who are drivers out there who operate motor vehicles and some of these larger trucks, I want us to be mindful that there are persons on the road who are not familiar with the road. They're here on vacation and driving around in a rental vehicle or whatever vehicles. We are to be mindful of that, and I'm admonishing all of us to be mindful of that and be careful on the road and drive with due care and attention, so that we can, make the challenge a bit less for those persons who are driving on the left-hand side of the road for the first time in some instances, or those persons who, are just trying to feel their way around. So I want us to be mindful of that and take your time on the road. I want to also issue a bit more admonition as well. In the area of the water taxi, the Uwali water taxi, I stand there from time to time, and to be honest with you, what I see I don't like, and I'm being honest. And I am a road user, whether by vehicle or by foot, and indeed when you see the speed that some people come through that particular area, the speed that they come through that area with, it is not nice at all. And sometimes when we speak this way, some people become offended. I don't want a soul to be offended. What I want us all to be mindful of is that you can come through there one day and a whole tragedy can take place. We don't want that. What we're trying to suggest, all of us who live here, most of us who drive in that area, we know that that facility is there. And so once you're approaching that facility, I'm asking persons to be mindful of that. Cut down on your speed. I believe there are signs posted out there as to what the speed limit should be. And I want us to understand that coming through there with that type of speed can result in a disaster that we don't want. We don't want to be speaking about that at no point. So I'm asking persons to be mindful of that when they come through that area, and just be mindful on the road that persons are using the road with you, and we want us to exercise due care and attention in that regard. Yeah, so I hope that is something that will resonate, whereby we understand that the way we use the road can be a good for all of us, or it can be a challenge for all of us. So be careful and mindful on the road, and drive with due care and attention, that is. While I'm at Uwali, yeah, well, I always come here at the end of each month and give some update as to what is happening at the Uwali water taxi facility. And I do so because, of course, listen, it was the visionary approach of the Concerned Citizens Movement in government to establish that facility. And that facility has brought about a transformation of, one, the way we travel between St. Kitts and Nevis. It has created numerous jobs, and also it has created a multiplier effect, so to speak, throughout the economy here in Nevis and in St. Kitts as well. So in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, we can say that that water taxi facility have transformed the way we do business and have created some businesses as well. And I want to give some numbers as to what has transpired over there throughout the month of December 2024, and of course throughout the year 2024, from January down to December. Now, if you can recall, when I was here back in November, I gave the total movements over there up to the end of November, that is the 30th of November, of 284,253 passengers would have passed through that facility. That is at the end of November 2024. Now we added what we would have experienced in December of 2024, which was 26,743 passengers would have used that facility. So you add that to the 284,253 passengers for the entire year 2024. We had a movement, passenger movement, that is, of 310,996 passengers would have used that facility over there at Wally. Now, if you recall, back in 2023, the passenger movements over there was, for the entire year, was 237,570 passengers. So we would have increased over 2023 in 2024 by 73,426 passengers. That is an increase. So it therefore means that many more persons would have seen the need to use the service and have been using the service to the tune of an additional 73,426 passengers. Now, I would have seen some numbers dating back to May 2019. Now, the facility would have opened, I believe, sometime in 2018, but the data was captured as of May 2019. Now, in May 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, and 2023, and up to 2024, all those years, when you add all of the numbers, all of the passenger movement thus far from May 2019 to December 2024, we're getting a global or grand total of 939,613 passengers would have used that facility thus far. Now, it is my humble opinion that this number should be larger, because like I said, the numbers, or we started capturing the data back in May of 2019, and of course we were using that facility throughout 2018. So it is almost clear to say that over 1 million passengers would have used that facility thus far. But I won't go that stretch just yet. Let's give it a chance. Let's deal with the period that we are seeking to capture. That is May 2019 to December 2024. So by my calculation, need another 60,387 passengers to reach that 1 million passenger mark. So I believe in this quarter we should reach that particular milestone. And I want the people at NASPA, who are very helpful in providing this data, I wanted to keep track of this, because maybe we should have a celebration when the 1,000,000th passenger come through that facility. Yeah, because you hear down in St. Kitts, for example, this is not a comparison, but there's always that enthusiasm about 1 million cruise passengers that come through there for a particular season or particular year, or whatever the case might be. These are significant milestones, because when we were in the process of constructing that facility, there were a lot of naysayers, there were a lot of negatives that were being spewed on the airwaves and on the streets, and people passed there with all kind of different things that they had to say, but that's okay. We felt it was important to keep our eyes on our objectives and steady course and press on and do what we have to do in terms of ensuring that we completed that facility to the point where it's at now, where it can be a major player in the overall landscape of transportation here between these two islands. And so we're seeking to get to that number. We need another 60,000 passengers thereabout, and based on the averages of just about 20,000+ passengers per month, I will say by March thereabout we should be celebrating the 1 millionth passenger. And so I want to again congratulate the folks at NASPA, congratulate the general manager, Mr. Orel Brandy, and his team, and all those who work over at the facility over there at Ouali. It is one of those major investments that the concerned citizens movement in government would have made. And that's why I said from day one that we wanted to have a facility where it was open to every Nevisian who wanted to do business at that facility. If you wanted to buy a boat to operate between St. Kitts and Nevis, there was no hindrance. On the flip side of that, we know what has happened over the years with the other means of transport out of Charleston. You know, you have different carriers or different operators there. There's the car ferry as well. There was one here for some time, some years, until a second player came into the market. And of course that has lent itself to competition, and so competition is good. Same thing that exists over there at the Ouali Water Taxi facility, and so competition is good for one and all. So we continue to do what is necessary as a government, as a party in government, and of course the attacks may come and the naysayers may come, but while the attacks come, we continue to attack the issues that are important to the people of Nevis and the island of Nevis. So attack us, yes, this is your right, freedom of speech, whatever it is, but while you're attacking, we continue to ignore the noise and attack the issues that are important to advance this island. And so I am pleased with what I'm seeing, and I want to continue to congratulate all that will continue to get up on a daily basis and go out and put out that effort that is needed to continue with the development of the island of Nevis. And I want to congratulate the Premier of Nevis and his team for continuing to press on. And so the attacks, as they attack, you attack the issues. Yeah? Okay, let's move on. Okay, during December, the end of the year, New Year's, you would have heard, Christmas messages and New Year's messages from the Premier, leader of the NRP party. On St. Kitts, of course, you would have had messages from the Prime Minister, the leader of the People's Action Movement, and of course the leader of the other party over there, what is called the People's Labour Party. But back here on Nevis, you would have heard from both the Premier and the leader of the NRP, and when I listened to both, I have to say that there was a stark difference between the approach that both leaders would have had. From the Premier standpoint, the Honourable Mark Brantley's standpoint, you heard about enthusiasm, you heard about things things that you can hold on to, that you can say are hopeful, and things that seems progressive, and the truth about the circumstances here in Nevis, and really wrapping it all up in a package so that we can have a wonderful Christmas and some hope for a brighter day come 2025. On the other hand, you hear, as far as I'm concerned, pure doom and gloom, and you hear this campaigning during December, during the Christmas season, campaigning for the new year, as if there was an election on the horizon, which of course there is no election for another 3 years thereabout. But anyway, that is how they propose to do their thing, and I want to commend the Premier for being one, hopeful about the future of this island, enthusiastic, and being progressive about what you're presenting to the island of Nevis. And I want to concentrate on just that this afternoon, because all of the negatives, we want to leave all that in 2024. And those who don't want to learn, it's up to them. But those who would have learned, and those who are willing to learn, in the case of the Premier of Nevis, I want to say to you, Premier Brantley, continue to spread truth, continue to bring that ray of hope to the people of Nevis and continue to press on in terms of what we intend to do for 2025. For 2025, of course, you would have listened to the budget presentation by the Premier of Nevis, Mark Brantley, and of course he would have articulated quite a number of things that the government is doing. One, to minimize the impact of the global recession and global difficulties and challenges and all of the difficulties that we are facing with all of those wars and trials and tribulations throughout the world. It is impacting, these are impacting us here in this part of the world. And I have said before that inflation, yes, we hear a lot of talk about inflation, and of course there are some things that the Premier would have spoken about to ensure that we meet these challenges head on, if not eliminate, but to minimize the impact on our people. But in terms of inflation, I have said before and I'll say again that every week when those boats come in here at Long Point, or they even land at the Deepwater Harbor in St. Kitts, we import inflation from the United States or Europe whenever these goods come. Because if the fuel prices are up throughout the world, everyone who is manufacturing these goods to be exported to us, they would increase their prices to cushion that increase. They're not going to eat it themselves. They'll pass it on to the next person or whomever they're selling to. So when we import these goods, whether food items, building materials, or whatever type of goods, furniture, whatever you import, once you import these items, the price that you pay for those in the United States, based on the circumstances there, will be reflected here. And of course, the government of the day will try their best to minimize. And of course, we have been doing that. And one of the things I know that the Premier would have spoken about in his budget presentation is on building materials, for example. We know how important the construction industry or that sector is to the island of Nevis or to this country as a whole, or to any country, but I'm speaking about Nevis now. We know that we've had a boom in the construction industry. There are a lot of construction taking place throughout the island of Nevis. And if you don't believe me, go up to, up to Prospect, and just stand there and look at the amount of concrete trucks that are coming out. They're going somewhere with concrete. You stand there at the entrance to the Long Point Road and you'll see concrete trucks coming from that particular concrete company that is located across Long Point. Not only that, you can see the movements of these trucks from the different hardware suppliers in terms of TDC and Horsford. They're out there every day. You can even check the importation of building material and supplies that come into the island as well too. And during the course of even December, we had shortage of crushed stones and other products that are used in the mixing of concrete and the likes. Now you see all these activities and you understand what is going on in the construction industry. Right now, from what most persons are saying, when they call a contractor, that contractor is already engaged, not in one job, two jobs, maybe three jobs going at the same time. It's difficult to find a contractor or someone who is skilled in certain areas right now because most of them are occupied at different sites. Yes, they'll come, but they'll come at a given time, which is not necessarily the time you want them, but is when they're available to you. That being said, I am convinced that we're having a good run at this point in time in the construction industry, and so the Premier in his presentation would have suggested that this first-time homeowners incentive package that is normally offered by the administration. It has been in place for some time, but I believe that has worked so well that the Premier have suggested that they're taking it one step further. And let me give an idea as to what happens with this program. You apply for it at the Ministry of Finance, of course, and first-time homeowners, I believe the threshold is 400,000 and up. If you're building a home, I hope I'm correct with that amount, but anyway, Any questions you have, you can go to the Ministry of Finance and they would enlighten you further. But the first-time homeowners incentive package is available, and you don't pay any duty on building materials. All you pay is the VAT. And of course, we know for the first 6 months of this year, VAT has been reduced from 17% to 13%. Yeah, that was disclosed in the budget presentation at the Federal Assembly back in December. So those are additional incentives for persons out there to get their plans together to proceed with construction. And these are some ways by which we can say that at least the effort is being made by the Nevis Island administration to tame, so to speak, the inflation that we have been facing over the last year or two, thereabout. Because since those wars started, since COVID-19 and since the challenges we've been having over the last couple of years, inflation has been biting to some extent. Prices have gone up. Yeah, and so this, I believe, is a good program for persons to take advantage of. So those who are building commercial buildings or villas, it extends to you as well. And in terms of a further extension of this program, what we have been told by the Premier is that if you're renovating or expanding on your existing home, and what we mean by renovating, if you want to enhance your home, you can get incentives for doing so. If you want to add on additional rooms because your family is expanding, you have additional children at home and they need their own space, the incentives are available to you. If you want to construct, you have already constructed a first home and you want to construct an additional home to do business. For example, what is big now in these parts or throughout the world are Airbnbs. That's where persons come to stay. Instead of staying in a hotel, for example, or some additional villa somewhere, persons are now building Airbnbs whereby persons can come there and be at their own leisure and pleasure, cook their own meals and have their family in a space that they control for that period of time, whether it's a week or 2 weeks. So if you want to build a facility like that, the incentives extend to you as well. So even though you have done what you have done under the first-time homeowner incentive package, you also have an additional package or packages available to you as well too. So I want persons to go to the Ministry of Finance and take advantage of these particular incentive package. And these are what we say. We're growing Nevis together. So if Nevis is progressing, Nevis is moving ahead in leaps and bounds, we're bringing everybody together and along together. So we're growing this place together. So if you want to do business, any type of business, let's say rental business of a home or whatever, you go down to the Ministry of Finance and they would enlighten you further, like I said. So that is one of the things that we believe will continue to incentivize persons to build and provide that impetus that is needed further in the construction industry and the construction sector. So throughout this year, our construction workers will be busy. Construction, or what do you call it, concrete plants will be busy. Hardware suppliers will be busy. Everyone will be busy. And then at the end of the day, what that translates into? More money for Social Security, housing and social levy will be collected, more money in the economy on a weekly, bi-weekly and monthly basis. And once money goes into the economy, those shops and bars, those mom and pop shops and bars around the island, they will see some activities, because on a Friday evening when they go, they buy their drinks and whatever and have a good time. But as a footnote, and not necessarily a footnote, my admonition to all those who collect their money on a weekly basis is make sure you put your little bit aside to take care of your responsibilities, and then you put your little bit aside for your entertainment. Entertainment is a must. It is good. But also your bills are absolutely important, and they must be paid. Yeah? So balance your life accordingly, but go out and do your hustling. If you can take on 2 jobs, take on 2. If you can do 3 jobs, take on the 3. Because when when the iron is hot, they say strike the iron while the, or strike the hammer while the iron is hot. So this is a hot period of time to make some money. Yeah, some don't like to hear me talk about money, but I don't make money myself. I love to see people making money. It is a part of me in terms of ensuring that the environment is right for people to make money. Okay, one of the projects that we should be launching off shortly with, and this is a project that I'm directly responsible for, and that is the airport project. We've heard a lot of things over the years. Yeah, we've heard persons say it's not going to happen, it won't start, not going to, whatever they say. I always say all these things, but one of the things I always said to those around me is that it's good to work with your mouth shut. Actions speak louder than words. Do what you have to do and then let the results be shown. So over the years we've been hearing, oh, it's not going to happen, and we've heard persons ridiculing someone like Mr. Drahi, who we are going to be partnering with this particular project. And while I mention Mr. Drahi's name, Patrick Drahi's name, you've heard a lot of things being said by those in the NRP who seem to like to bring down people, find the worst things to say about people, ridicule people. I don't even want to go down that road, but why I bring up that gentleman's name is because I want the whole of Nevis to know that Patrick Drahi is a citizen of St. Kitts and Nevis. He holds a St. Kitts and Nevis passport, and I have heard the Premier when he was the Minister of Foreign Affairs, now as Premier, and even now he keeps saying it. When there are persons out there who are holding our passports, citizens to St. Kitts and Nevis, a lot of millionaires and billionaires, multi-millionaires, multi-billionaires, however you want to term it, have our passport. But they're all over the world, making investment all over the world, but not in St. Kitts Nevis. So we sell this passport and we collect whatever it is, whatever little money it is. And I say little money because I'm equating that against what some of these persons are worth. So you collect that money, but these persons are worth billions, and they're out there investing in Europe, in America, and all over the world, taking advantage of the conditions and the incentives and the things that come along with our passport, because there are some good things that come along with holding a St. Kitts and Nevis passport. That is why they want to have possession of it. That being said, someone like Mr. Drahi, who has a St. Kitts Nevis passport, has chosen to make Nevis a place where he has a home. Could have gone elsewhere, anywhere else, and build a home. But he has chosen Nevis. And he said that he wants to do something for Nevis. He wants to partner with the government. And that is why he's partnering with us with that particular airport expansion. And he's investing in an island where he has some interest. And when I say interest, he has a home. He comes here often. He wants to see the best for Nevis because he loves Nevis. And we love him too because he has made contribution. You see that CT scan that is up there, the Alexandria Hospital? He was the one who made that contribution. And I believe it was valued at somewhere around $1 million. US dollars, to be exact. Made that contribution. And he continues to contribute in every possible way he can. He employs people who work on his property. They collect their wages and salaries. He does construction around here. I mean, I can't understand why anyone in their right mind would want to tear down a gentleman who is just coming. I don't even think I hear them anyway. But I am just mentioning this here because we must learn to understand that, listen, what we say here locally is being broadcast far and wide. You hear me went all over the world just now to recognize our listeners or acknowledge our listeners, because we have listeners and viewers all the way in Asia, all the way in Europe, all over the world. That is how close things are in this world now. It's closely connected world. And sometimes when you go out and say these things about people, yeah, it's not nice. It is not nice. It is not good. And it's not becoming of sensible people to be out there trying to tear down and find the worst thing to say about people instead of lifting up people. And so, back to the airport now. I just had to say that because I honestly can't understand what it is, what value there is to tear down someone like some would try to do. But let me say this airport is well on its way. We have made some progress in terms of the overall negotiations with landowners, and I want to thank all the landowners, property owners who we would have had discussions with and who would have agreed to the terms that we have come to. And in very short order, as far as I'm aware, the legal department is preparing or is about to prepare those memorandum of transfers, and so you'll be hearing from the legal department in short order, those of you who have been contacted, those of you who would be impacted, so that we can make the necessary arrangements to have payments made for your properties. And so that was a major hurdle. It took us some time, but we are getting there in terms of making those payments available to those property owners. And so the project as it stands is at the point where I believe, I don't want to give an exact date, but as time go on, we'll make more announcement and pronouncements. But I can say to you, as the Nivision public and those of you who are listening, that we have come a long way in the right direction with this particular project. A long way in the right direction when some were saying otherwise. As a matter of fact, in listening to them now, they're asking, well, when this project will get started. They're now saying, I wonder when the project finish, who is going to manage the airport? So it means that there's some acknowledgement that we don't play around when it comes to getting things done as a government. And that's why I said before that I am one who believe in saying less, doing more. Walk with your mouth shut, as they say sometimes. We say that in local parlance, so I put it over as best as I can. So yes, so this project is going to transform the island of Nevis, and I want to say those who still have some doubts about this project, I want to say to you that every developed nation in the world have access via air and via the ocean. You must have those access. If you don't have those and they're not up to the standard they should be, and you don't have that access, people are going to go elsewhere. And that's why I've been saying all along to those who say that the airport is underperforming, why are we spending money on an airport that is not performing? I say to you that the infrastructure over there, you can't do anything other than to upgrade it, because there's no other airline that is going to come with the type of infrastructure we have there at the Vance Amri International Airport. We cast our minds back to 2002, 2003 thereabout, when the last upgrade was done to accommodate the American Eagle turboprops. We understood what the surge was in terms of movement of passengers. The records are there to show. As a matter of fact, those principals that are over there in Wally that operate a hotel said it was the best time they ever had, or the most revenue they ever generated, when the American Eagle was coming out of Puerto Rico, bringing almost a plane full every day, coming in the afternoon, going back in the morning, coming back at 1 o'clock, going back at 2 o'clock, and then coming back at 5 in the afternoon. So four rotations in a day. Those were the good old days. We're going to see those days once again. We're going to see those days once again, because the access that we are trying to create is for persons to leave Miami to Nevis, leave Atlanta to Nevis, leave Washington DC to Nevis, leave New York to Nevis, leave wherever in the United States and connect through Miami. As a matter of fact, I'll say this to you. We intend to extend for just about 6,000 feet of runway. And you can extend a piece of road for 6,000 feet, Let's say from Fort Ashby to, let's say, in the Case Bay area, 6,000 feet of runway, of road, sorry. And that will be used by cars and buses and trucks. That's 6,000 feet. But by the time we extend that airport runway to 6,000 feet, we're going to have access to the world, the entire world. Because I'll say to you that when a jet leaves there full of passengers and fuel, they'll get all the way to Germany. They'll get to any part of the United States. They'll get to Europe. Those global 7,500s and 7,000s, they're going to reach all the way to Europe, South America, anywhere down in Brazil, down in Argentina, wherever. So you see the magnitude of extending a runway for 6,000 feet as against a piece of road for 6,000 feet. You understand what is happening. You look at it. Look at it and you see. Wrap your head around that and understand that this extension will open up Nevis to the entire world. The entire world. And that is why the enthusiasm is there from myself, from the administration, from everyone who wants to see this project proceed. And when it's all said and done, our parents out there must be happy about this extension. Your children, when they leave school. And I made a point up there at the last town hall meeting in Pond Hill. We have children leaving school every year. We ask where they're going to work. There'll be work provided for them right over there at the Van Summer International Airport. Whether it's in the ticketing side of it, meaning where you check in, working for the airlines, whether it's a ramp attendant, whether it's refuelers, whether it's in the control tower, whether it's in the fire hall, the new fire hall that will be built, whether it's taking care of the overall manicuring and upkeep of the grounds, the facility. FBO will be built. Persons will be needed there as well. So all along, airline, what you call it now, maintenance persons for those airlines that would come. There'll be a host of employment available over there for persons, young people who are willing to get into that area in the aviation business. So I see huge things happening coming out of this expansion. Be a wonderful day for the island of Nevis. And of course, I made the point before, that many of the persons who come to Nevis, we go out on a daily, weekly, monthly, annual basis and we advertise the island of Nevis. Come to Nevis. And when we say come to Nevis, persons have to come through St. Martin, have to come through St. Kitts, have to come through Antigua. When they leave perhaps out of St. Kitts or wherever they depart from, but they don't, in some cases, depart from the Van Summer International Airport. We want them to depart from there because the revenue that we spend to lure all of these visitors to Nevis, and they come to St. Kitts, for example, when they're going out, that's where they leave their money, in St. Kitts. That's revenue that is leaking from Nevis. And I don't want anybody to be angry with me. The realities are what they are. And the bottom line is, if we are upgrading our facility here on Nevis, it will be a plus for the island of St. Kitts. Why I say that? We are one airspace. It's one airspace. So if St. Kitts is doing well in terms of maintaining their facility, Nevis has to be on par too, because we are one country when it's all said and done. But we want our people to get to Nevis easy. The ease of access must be there. For example, someone leaving California, they have to start traveling tonight at midnight our time, or midnight their time. And they're traveling to Miami, and then they leave Miami and go wherever. And then later on in the afternoon, tomorrow afternoon, sometime they'll get to Nevis, almost in the dead of night. I want to see the day when persons leave Miami at 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the day, or even 12 o'clock in the day. And by 3 o'clock they're here. If they leave at 11, by 3 they're here, or 2 o'clock they're here. Or is it 2 hours and something flight? 2 hours, 3 hours flight, they're here. Yes? Okay. Listen, I'm going to go deeper into the airport expansion project when I come next time. But at least the first portion of this program was information, and that took up some time. That's how quickly an hour would fly. I wanted to touch on water, because I see the CCM is doing a wonderful job in making sure that we are overcoming the deficit that we had in water, and now we have a surplus that we are moving into when it comes to water. And what I mean by that, when we got into government, we had a deficit. We were supposed to be getting 1 million gallons of water per day, but we were getting just about 600 plus thousand a day. But right now, for sure, I can tell you this much, that we have overcome those challenges and we're heading into a surplus capacity when it comes to water. with all of these wells that have been dug throughout Nevis. I understand they are too successful. Well, let me not say successful yet, but promising wells over there in the Maddens area. And I almost want to say, let me go back and say successful, because based on what the Minister Brand would have said, he said they look good. And that's all that is good enough for me. So we are moving from a deficit, and we have spent millions of dollars, and I'll touch it again next week. Millions, $43 million plus on water and the enhancement of water here on the island of Nevis. So when they say where money gone, so where money gone? Money gone into wells. And well mean water and potable water. And water that I will say that we are now in a position where we can say we have surplus capacity. And we're going to build more tanks to store more water. And so water, I didn't even check and see, but I was checking, and they think it's what you call it now, they think it's water management or whatever the entity is called over their website. And I see here that they have issues with water from Sunday the 5th of January to the 11th of January, and the whole of St. Kitts, from Basti all the way to Tabernacle. Yeah? Basti, Bird Rock, Canary, Date Bay, Half Moon Bay, Keys, a lot. I can call them out, all of them. Look there, all the way down to Tabernacle. Water going off 7 p.m. in the night. Then last week I understand it was some other place again, right? So when I see these things, I'm not glorifying and not gloating or anything, but it was through hard work and understanding what the challenges are and dealing with the challenges. Remember I said before, when they start to criticize and when they start to say things like attacking the system, you attack the problem, you attack the difficulties, you attack the challenges head on. And that's what we have done in water. Pine Garden, Buckley's Extension, all those places in St. Kitts, 7 p.m. water going off. Nevis people cannot say likewise. We got over here for now, yeah? And that is because we have taken the monies that we have gotten and we have spent it wisely. Wisely. I think I'm running out of time. I'm taking up time that is not mine. Yeah. So let me close off now and just say thanks for listening to On Point for today. Let me just quickly remind that next Friday I may not be here because of the funeral of Burley Walwyn that starts at 1:30 next week, and I intend to go there to pay my last respects. So that being said, thanks once again, and let us go out throughout this year with a lot of energy and a lot of positive thinking. You must have a positive mental attitude throughout 2025, and let us do what we can to continue to advance this island, push it in the right direction. We are getting there and we're heading there. Thank you for listening. It was indeed my pleasure. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful weekend. If you go to church on Saturday, go ahead and go to church tomorrow. And if you go on Sunday, go and serve your God on the Sunday. And say a prayer for the island of Nevis. May God bless us all. Have a